Hey everyone, and welcome to Comic Breakdown. Now today, we're going to be getting into The Flash Future State issue number 2. And if you haven't been keeping up with this line, go ahead and check out it in the description as well as the top of this video. You'll find a link to the playlist that'll get you all caught up on everything Future State. That way you're not missing out on any of the great details coming out of this story. Now be sure that you guys are subscribed to the channel and you hit that notification bell, because over the course of the next week I'm going to be dropping full videos of all the future states that are going to be getting completed here, which is including Swamp Thing, Harley Quinn, The Flash, and also we're going to be doing individual videos on Outsiders and Arkham Knights, the little side stories that are in the back of these issues. But for this morning, we're going to be covering 3 videos, and we'll have the other 3 released later this evening. And with that being said, let's dive into this issue. Alright, so getting into issue number 2, we pick up at Central City Flash Museum, and Barry Allen is putting in a journal entry. It's been 2 months since Wally West murdered Jay Garrick, and we saw the death of Bart. But Barry is still staying strong, holding on to some kind of hope. Even with war and disease, starvation running rampant across the globe, he focuses on his work. But he can't help but wonder if they're racing towards Armageddon, and if Wally is the instrument of the apocalypse, a tool of famine, a rider of the apocalypse as Wally believes himself to be. But he stands by his belief that at the end of the day, he has to stop Wally West. And he's been tracking him, every life he takes, the conspicuous murders of known criminals and the sparing of innocent lives. This is telling Barry Allen that there may be a chance that Wally West is still in there and he's influencing whatever's possessing him. But to save him, Barry Allen has to catch him. And with his powers gone, with him no longer connected to the Speed Force, he has to rely on science. And this is where we see him working on a workstation, messing with a cold gun. We see Captain Boomerang's boomerang. We see a bunch of cool stuff here. And so Barry Allen works. He works vigorously to try to find some kind of way to lure him in. And with all of his testing complete and all of his tools ready, he thinks back to Wally's last words in their last encounter. After claiming to be famine, he said famine doesn't just feed on the physical. He said famine feeds on something else, but he's not sure what. Now, possibly this is just the ramblings of Wally West, or it's Wally West giving him a clue on some kind of way of saving him or bringing him back, something. And with this journal entry, he logs it into the computer and walks away. But the log entry didn't switch over onto the computer. Even so, he doesn't notice and starts to gear up. And we see the Flash completely scienced out. And this is when Barry goes outside of the Flash Museum with the thinking cap on, with Jay Garrick's cap, and he's modified it into a thinking cap. And Wally West shows up, letting him know he didn't need the thinking cap to sense the vile urges from within inside of Barry Allen. And Barry reminds himself to focus on the science, and he wastes no time. He throws Captain Boomerang's boomerang at him and tries using the trickster's flying shoes to gain some high ground over Wally West. And Wally goes to grab the foot, but Barry Allen modified it with the weather wand, and it starts absorbing Speed Force energy into his reverse generator, which in turn creates negative Speed Force energy that he has as a gauntlet on his arm. And he shoots Wally West, and Wally gets froze up. With the boomerang coming in behind him, it hones in on the subatomic particle burst from clashing Speed Force forces. And then he grabs the prism goggles and cuts off the legs of Wally West. And Barry, thinking that he's defeated Wally West, starts apologizing, but then gets hit from behind, only to find out that that was a Speed Force duplicate. And Wally gives him a good hit, but he's built this to be able to take a few hits at least. But Wally West also broke his converter. And this is where he pulls out yet another weapon. And it's the Pied Piper's Hypnosonics. And it works. He hits Wally West with it, and it seems like it's affecting it in some way. It's hurting Famine, and it's making it angry. And then Barry Allen pulls out yet another weapon from his arsenal, and it's Mirror Tech Duplicator. And he duplicates himself, and they all start taking on Wally West. They get him just in the right position to activate the shell, which is a recreation of the Turtles' Still Force field, and Barry gets him pinned down, and he tries one last time to reach Wally West to see if there's anything left in there. And Wally reaches out, asks him why he's trying to kill him. And Wally tells him, I'm weakened. I need strength. I need you to go get somebody with magic, Constantine, someone, anyone that can help. And this is when Barry realizes that's not actually Wally West. Wally West would never willingly throw somebody else in the way of Famine, especially after what happened to Jay Garrick. And then Famine reveals himself. And with that, Barry Allen turns the cold gun on him and freezes him, only for Wally West to vibrate out of it. But when he vibrated, something happened to him, because Barry Allen had modified the fuel in Captain Cold's ice gun. He absorbed it while the ice was melting. He inhaled it in the steam. The ice that he ingested contained a genetic altered form of Wally West's DNA. The re-engineered DNA pretty much destroys his entire skeletal muscles, eliminating his body's ability to run or move, and it really just turns it into more of a goo. There's no healing from it. There's no reprogramming it. This is how Wally West will be. And now that he is completely useless to Famine, he tells Famine to get out of his body. And this is when Famine arises. And this is when he starts to tell Barry Allen some really interesting dialogue. And the dialogue essentially goes along the lines that Barry Allen's hope is his most prized possession, is Famine's most prized possession, because his hope is what feeds him. That's what Wally was trying to say. He doesn't just feed on the physical, he feeds on hope. And who bigger than Barry Allen, the Flash? Everybody has hope in Barry Allen to do what's needing to be done. And so you see, he doesn't want to kill Barry Allen. He wants to keep him alive. He wants to keep him alive forever, because as long as the word and name Barry Allen lives within other people, as long as people can believe that Barry Allen is going to save them, there's hope out there, and that's what he can feed off of. And then Barry gives us a long monologue about how he's not going to feed him, he's not going to give in to him, not realizing that all of this already does. And then in an instant, we see Wally West reanimated and Famine merge with him yet again. And him telling Barry Allen, like, all of your efforts are futile. And this is where he takes him and pushes him just a moment outside of time. That way he can watch as Famine feasts on the entire world. And he leaves them there, knowing that he will haunt him with unending despair again and again. And that he will feed him. Barry Allen will feed Famine forever, because he will never stop running out of hope. Hope to stop him. Hope to do something. He'll just keep running. And then this is when we pick up with Psybeast. Though I know many of you prefer something along the lines of Beastborg. Why they went with Psybeast, I honestly could not tell you. Doesn't make any sense to me either. But he shows up and he finds the ring of Barry Allen. And it's still loaded with information on everything that he's been experimenting on. And this is where he tells Starfire that he thinks Barry just gave them a chance at fighting for a better tomorrow. And that's where that story will continue into Future State Teen Titans, which I believe comes out next week. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I can't say I loved it, but it was very entertaining. I will give him that. Seeing Barry Allen use all the weapons of everyone he's always fought against the rogues and stuff like that, it is really cool to see him get all that together and be able to use his knowledge of the Speed Force of being a speedster to his advantage to be able to take on Wally West. Now, like I've said before in the last issue, I'm not the hugest fan of how Wally West has always been a villain, at least lately, and I would really like to see some stories of redemption for him, at least before he retires. Give us something big if he's going to retire. If DC wants to retire Wally West, they need to give us something worth retiring him for. Because at this point, if they retire him, it's going to be like they just gave up on using the character altogether, which would be completely just shameful, because he's just such a good character to work with, and with the right artist and right writer, he could be done so well. But yeah, all in all, I have to say it was a decent comic. I'm not rushing out to buy this one for sure, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. If you guys have options for digital, I would definitely pick it up on digital. Read that. Let me know what you guys think. If you haven't checked out Comic Breakdown and More podcasts, go ahead and go do that. We drop new episodes every Friday, available on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts at. And until the next video.